friends, and welcome to episode 112 of Did You Bring the Hummus podcast. I'm Kimberly, your host, and I am super excited to be here with you today. Did You Bring the Hummus is a podcast for all things vegan. Episodes post every Monday on your favorite podcast app. Before we get started, I have one very important question for you. Did you bring the hummus? Do you love the podcast? Want to help me keep it going? Visit the Support the Podcast tab on my website to learn more. Join me on alternating Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern for an hour of meditation. Sign-up options include individual sessions, a monthly subscription, or a 10-session package good for 6 months. I have joined forces with Jennifer Shlomovich of The Confident Vegan to bring you the next great thing in morning TV, That Vegan Morning Show, which airs on YouTube every Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern. Join our mailing list and get a free recipe ebook of some of our favorites. Today, I am joined by Jenn JJ Judd. JJ is a mindset coach, content creator, and author with a degree in psychology. Known for her passion for plant-based living and helping people transform their health and mindset, JJ developed the G.L.A.D framework, goals, learning, action, discipline, to inspire real, lasting change. She draws on both her personal journey and professional experience to guide people toward achieving their goals with clarity, confidence, joy, and ease. In 2019, at 42 years old, JJ lost 55 pounds, eliminated chronic back pain and seasonal allergies, and discovered the power of whole, raw vegan foods. What started as a personal weight loss journey turned into a mission to help others reclaim their well-being through sustainable habits, mindset shifts, and a return to nature's intended diet. JJ also discovered the ethical principles of veganism and became an advocate, using her platform to speak up for animals and educate others on the deeper meaning behind the lifestyle, when they're ready to hear it. As the founder of Vegan Knowledge and Amazing Plantsformers, JJ educates and empowers people to simplify their approach to nutrition, break free from diet confusion, and create lasting health transformations. She shares her knowledge through books, coaching, and engaging online content, making plant-based living accessible and inspiring. Her latest book introduces readers to the G.L.A.D Blueprint, a 4-step system designed to help people overcome obstacles, take control of their health, and achieve long-term success. The book includes real-life examples, an interactive quiz, and actionable steps that guide readers toward their best selves, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Her mission is to meet people where they are and gently invite them to go deeper, to recognize that all animals deserve to live, not just the ones we share our homes with. There is no difference between cats and dogs, cows and pigs, chickens and turkeys, when it comes to their desire to live and feel safe. She believes that true health is simple, and by working with the body instead of against it, we can unlock our fullest potential. Hey, JJ, welcome. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Hey. So, as we always do at the start of every Did You Bring the Hummus episode, tell me about your vegan journey. How did you get here?
So it's kind of an interesting story that was kind of unexpected, I would say, maybe not as interesting, but I went like my wife Dawn was looking for ways to grow sprouts, and we had never heard of the word vegan except for the fact that we had a owned a restaurant delivery service, and we would have people that called for like special instructions on their orders. And of course at that time I was like, oh, it's one of those crazy weird orders that can't have this and this and this in it, right? And then I think we were joking before when we talked, I'm like, now I'm that crazy person when I call a restaurant, right? And how was it cooked?
Right.
um but so it was just ironic because she found this video and it was called Raw, like RAW, and I was watching it, just how that you get in that algorithm, and it wasn't just about sprouts, it was about everything now with living foods. So,
Mhm.
and she's like, "This is really cool. You'll have to watch this." And I looked at it, and it was about people healing like all kinds of things like heart disease, diabetes, and all kinds of, ailments with like chronic diseases, which I had never heard of. I was like, you need medication for these things. And they were healing it with a whole food, raw, vegan diet. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is really interesting. So I was like, at that time looking to lose weight. I was having like chronic back pain. Like every day I would wake up and it would be just this agitating thing. I would have to get on the exercise bike and like, stretch out. It was one of those where if you sat still too long, it hurt. Not that I couldn't
Mm.
move around, back pain. And I would have to have people like pull on my back, like midway throughout the day. And I would then also like just throughout my like late mid 30s, I was having like a lot of bronchial issues. I would get allergies so bad since I was a kid. There was like a joke. My mom even sent me a meme once with a lady with toilet paper roll on top of her head so that I could have it like as a joke, like, uh oh, allergy season's coming up, right? And it was, so I was going through some things like that, but those things weren't things I thought I could reverse with raw food, but I did want to lose weight and I was like, I'm going to do this. I always tried diets throughout my life. I was doing Atkins at one point and just eating turkey sandwiches, which kind of grosses me out now, but like, like these weird diets, cabbage for 3 days and different things. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm going to go all day because I really didn't eat. I would just have like coffee all day with work. We were so busy. And then I would kind of eat a lot at night, but I would only eat once a day anyway. So I decided to go all day for 3 days. I was going to try this. Here we are like 6 years later, by the way, but I was gonna have, like, a big salad. So, luckily, we were going to the store that night, and I mentioned this, in the book that if we hadn't went to the store that night, I don't know that I would have been on this journey because
Mm.
sometimes you can start to put things off and, I'll try it on the 1st or I'll
Yeah.
after the holiday and this and that. So, this was, like, April, and I went out to the store that night and bought, like, every vegetable I could think of and, like, some fruits, like blueberries and then tomatoes, cucumbers, all kinds of stuff, lettuce. And I started making these big salads every night. And I would listen to things like this, podcasts and interviews with people who transformed their life and health benefits of cucumbers and all that good stuff. And all of a sudden, my salads were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Of course, I had the sprouts on them that the original video was about, and then it was like then I read about cabbage having antioxidants, and then I had shredded cabbage on it, and then like there's a picture of me with a salad that's like bigger than me, uh, taller than me, not necessarily, but like while I'm holding it, it was actually piled up so high it was above my head. And I just started feeling really good. Like 3 days went on, and I'm like, you know what? I felt a little bit hungry, so I would add like some nuts, because I'm getting used to leaving dense foods behind. So I added like some nuts in an avocado. That was kind of like a savior because it got me through and gave me those dense, foods for a
Yeah.
while for that first couple of days. But then I was just feeling really good. And I said, I'm going to go a week. And then it turned into a month. And meanwhile, everybody around me is thinking like, "Oh my God, what is she doing? Like, she's gonna die."
Right.
My mom's like, "You need to eat something," and luckily I didn't live at home, so I had a little control of what I was eating. Things were like pushed in my face. It was just conversations, but like I went from standard growing up meat, dairy, not even knowing what the word vegan was to saying I was a raw vegan. Like within 24 hours, and it was I couldn't believe I was doing it either, but I was. And it was very, I lost 55 pounds over like a 6 month period.
Wow.
Within 30 days, that back pain that I had was like completely gone. I don't know if it was the inflammation from the dairy or the meat or what was doing it, because I had lost weight before up and down and never got rid of the back pain. And then my allergies never came back on that year that I
Oh.
had since a kid. Like every year I was stuffy and I was like, I found a miracle. Like,
Yeah.
so I just started just absorbing more things. And that's when it kind of like hit me about 6 months in that I was just walking around saying I was raw vegan, but I didn't know what vegan meant. I was on a diet.
Mm.
But then I started getting in Facebook groups and seeing what happens to animals. And the first thing I had seen was about dairy cows. And I was just astonished. Like I was like, wait, they're not happy. They're not excited to be giving us milk like we're told.
Right.
And it's not even good for us. Like this
Yeah.
whole, I woke up from this matrix and realized, oh my gosh, there's no difference between my cat, that I had my cats and people's dogs and things I've grown up with, animals that we love, and all these animals being bred and tortured. I'm like, where have I been? Like this connection was just so profound that this whole thing had like a deeper meaning at that point. And I tried different, I've been all around the gamut of vegan diets. I found processed food, which was exciting. I'm like, I can have mayo again.
Right.
And so like I went through, whole food, plant-based, everything. And I seem to always reattach myself to raw or high raw, just like eating a lot of fresh raw food. And I think because it was ingrained in me from the beginning, almost like when I was a newborn vegan. So and that's what reversed a lot of my health conditions. So that's kind of where it all happened, and that was probably too long of a story, but
Not at all. For the listeners who might not know the difference, you said a couple of words that I'd like you to just clarify for them. You
mhm,
you talked about being raw, then you mentioned being high raw.
mhm.
Can you describe what those mean?
Yes. So like raw is basically what I saw in that first video people were doing. They don't have anything cooked, but if it is cooked, it's usually not cooked above like 118 degrees. Like that's just kind of a rough, like if you wanted to steam some vegetables, but you wouldn't like overcook them basically, or a lot of people use a dehydrator. And then there's a lot of people who are really simple into the raw, and they have fruits and salads, which is kind of more like where I fell in line. I was already not the greatest cook, so I didn't, I tried the dehydrator once and that didn't work out well. The cucumbers were very weird, but then I was told you're not supposed to dehydrate cucumbers.
Oops.
But there's a lot of like raw vegan chefs that I know that make these beautiful creations like with zucchini noodles and spaghetti sauce and just different ways you can do raw vegan. And then there's like within raw veganism, there's even like a fruitarian type diet, which is basically like a lot of more fruits you would eat, and then like some nut seeds, and some add like lettuce and tender like type leaves in. So like it's so wild to think about so many different ways that you can vegan, as I say, because
Yeah.
like it depends on like where you feel comfortable and what fits into your lifestyle. I always tell people, I found, and a lot of people, like when they're in a big hurry to like clear something up or reverse something, I have found anyway personally that the more like raw uncooked food I have, I guess because it helps you stay whole food. For one thing, you're not getting processed food for the
Mhm.
most part. I think they do sell raw vegan brownies, but I won't go that route either because that might take me down a brownie diet. But
Oh, yeah.
which if they could come out with that, right? But and then high raw just I think for me means that there are things that like I've been told certain like nuts that you buy, they might say raw, but they had to be steamed to be, one thing or another. So I don't want people to get caught up in like getting too strict and then not getting the proper nutrients, like, oh my goodness, like I'm out somewhere and these don't say completely raw,
Mhm.
peanuts, I'm not going to eat them. But, or if you want to lightly steamed vegetables. And the idea of it is that you're just keeping most of the nutrients in. And if something has all its nutrients retained, but I think people can find a lot of health benefits in like maybe fruit or smoothies for lunch, and then if they want to do like a big salad to get all those in, and then if you have whole food plant-based cooked meal. And that just means, for those who don't know, like there are so many vegan alternatives. Like I said, I've fallen into it too. It's good, but if you just completely, I don't think it's healthy to live on just you know without any fruits or vegetables and just eat all
Yeah.
vegan meats too, but
Right.
I mean, hey, if that's going to help me save animals, I'm all for it if that's what fits in someone's lifestyle. But as
Mhm.
far as what like worked for me, I notice when I go back and eat a lot of like high sodium processed foods, I start to kind of, feel myself, like my feet started swelling because I sit at my desk a lot. So like I'll see little things happen where I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, get it together, JJ. Get back on your fruits. Like throughout holidays and things. But I just think it's an interesting thing because some people will say, I tried vegan and it didn't work, or my friend tried vegan and it didn't work. And they don't realize there's so many, like, you have to really try it for yourself because there's no one way to, what do they say? Eat a Reese's cup. There's no one way to do vegan, right? Like,
Yeah,
we all enjoy what we eat. We all enjoy what we do. And we found this alignment and compassion that eventually opens up that makes it like a deeper standard, a deeper why, where, people are like, well, don't you ever just want to eat meat? Well, no, because I don't want to support that industry. So it's not like, don't you want to eat a vegan cookie sometimes, like cheating on my diet. It's wanting to, it's a deeper meaning that comes up, and I think that happens, like, feel like, why are vegans so passionate, or, let me eat what I want and you eat what I want. It's kind of like that phrase that it's not about the food really, it's
right.
about doing the least harm. So if you can find a diet that works in your lifestyle, the true blessing of it is we're not eating animals. And then I think there's levels of it, just like in the regular American diet, standard American diet, that we can eat, whichever level of health we want. Like if you
Yeah.
wanted to eat broccoli, a lot of broccoli, or you wanted to eat a lot of fruits, there's that flexibility within it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I say that all the time. It's like if there's somebody who is currently their diet is like all fast food, McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, like all of that, and it's constant just animal products and processed, and they decide to go vegan, and their version of vegan is that as far as what they eat is that they're eating impossible burgers and beyond burgers and impossible nuggets and all of that. It's still not a health food diet, but they're not harming animals. And there's certainly an improvement in the fact that there's no cholesterol in
Yes.
plant foods. So they've
Mhm.
already reduced that harm they've been doing to themselves. So even though they're not eating a healthy vegan diet, they are healthier than eating the animals that they'd been eating before. And like, if that's just how they choose to eat, it's still falling within that vegan parameter. So they're not harming animals and that's what they like. So yeah, maybe they're not going to sit down and enjoy the same foods that you do, JJ, with your raw salads and stuff, but that's okay, right?
Exactly. It's exactly okay. And it depends. I think we all come into this differently and then layers unfold.
Yeah.
So, like for me, the reason I even found this word vegan was I saw a show about people reversing illness with raw
Mhm.
food. So, like for me, that's what it meant at that moment. It meant, oh, you eat these foods that aren't cooked. It was like a rule, like a diet, right? And
Mhm.
then, like, I didn't even understand why I wasn't eating meat and dairy until I like read into the shows I was watching with the physicians committee and things, and then I was like, oh, okay, so these are the reasons that these things are not good for us. And then I found out about animals, and like I said, it was 6 months later. So if someone had talked to me, or someone had jumped all over me in a vegan group for asking a question, let's just say, that would have turned me away maybe and not let me explore that. So that's why I think, if someone comes into this hearing something about animals or watching one of the documentaries, and they might later on find something about, oh wait, this is these fruits and vegetables are good for us, and there's a lady doing something where she's not cooking the food. Maybe they're watching this and they're like, oh, you know what, I have been having back issues, or maybe I do need to lower my sodium and I'll try to add more raw foods. So then it became like it was for animals at first for them, and then it becomes something they're trying to explore a healthier diet.
Yeah.
But it's just we can't rush people to a different part of the opening of the layers. We just have to let them come in where they are and then let it unfold like it did for all of us. Like none of us were born vegan. Um, and I mean, Well, let me that's a whole nother story. I'll say that I think we all were born vegan, but,
Right.
no, none of us were raised vegan, or most of
Yeah.
us. There are some people who I've, ran into online, and I'm like, "Wow, so you, like, never ate meat?"
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, that's amazing, but it's not the reality for most of us, and it's certainly not the reality in this world that we live in,
Mhm.
um, and that's part of navigating this interesting, discovery that we've made, and then being around people who haven't made those connections yet.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I love your take on that we should be able to come to it and then deepen it on our own by doing the research and learning new things. Like I came to it from the animal perspective. I didn't care about health. And it's really only recently, in the last like year or so, where I've been like, oh, I don't feel great. And because I do eat a lot of processed foods. And
Mhm,
so it's not about the fact that they are processed vegan foods. It's just the fact that they are processed foods and our bodies have no idea what to do with that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going on inside me. And so now I'm like, okay, I want to figure out how I can best serve myself from a health perspective. But before that, like my thing was always from the ethical standpoint. So as long as I wasn't harming anyone, I was good with eating the way that I'd been eating. And I had to come to the health thing on my own.
mhm,
And if someone was constantly like, and look, I have been judged. I've been overweight the entire time I've been vegan. I have had people look me up and down and go, "All right, but like when are you sneaking the cheeseburgers because this doesn't make sense?"
true.
And just like super rude comments, And that would never push me to decide to take better care of myself just so other people would believe that I was vegan. But now so if someone was like, you have to be thinner or fitter or whatever to be a good representative, I would have been like, get the frick out of, like, I'm not okay. I don't want to be part of this
Right, I
community.
don't
I'm
wanna
gonna,
be part of it.
yeah.
That's why I think it's such an important thing about how it's more important than anything, I think, how we approach people who are exploring this lifestyle and not taking it to a place where we are at now, but we haven't let them get to, or
Mhm.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, that's what we were saying, the same thing, but like kind of opposite there,
Yeah.
like I'm "Oh, that look at you, you've lost too much weight now, you look better before, your face was fuller and everything," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not in pain, so
Right.
whatever." I don't know about, and like you said, during this process, I have, went through the gamut of picking up a little bit of the weight back that I had, after that, going through the different parts of the diet. So, but I still, like you said, feel better that I wasn't eating animals, I wasn't eating the cholesterol. And then for you on the other end, that's where all these myths come up, like, oh, vegans are supposed to be skinny. Vegan is a philosophy. So, like, how could that make us
Right.
skinnier or whatever, and like that's
Exactly.
just the world's example of what we're supposed to be in all versions of our life,
Yeah.
Sorry about that. This car coming by.
Oh, I didn't hear.
Oh, good. Okay, good headset.
Yeah.
And I think, we are all just kind of trying to fight these myths that are out there, and like, it's a perfect example here of both of us, how we came into the whole philosophy of it, and then evolved and changed. And then me, I've changed, like I went to the other way and then came back again, like, okay, I want to, it was like 2023. I remember I interviewed someone, and he was talking about that, how fruits hydrate us, and healing in fruits, and I was like, I think I'm ready to go home to raw, like
Yeah.
like I'm not like you said, I felt better than I still ever felt. I still had higher energy, and I wasn't feeling as much of the allergies and pain, but I felt a little stuffier sometimes, and I felt
Mhm.
like not the same level of energy. So I was like, you know what, I think it's time to revisit, you know, mostly raw foods, because even when I was eating a lot of processed foods, I would still have a big salad because I think I got like hooked on that salad thing, and
Yeah.
that made me feel like it was okay. Like even if I was eating the Beyond Burger right after, it was like, but I ate
Right.
my salad, I ate my vegetables. But then I realized that it goes in cycles, and our body, our microbiome wants what you're giving it. It's kind of like your mind wants what it's giving. If you consume all kinds of vegan content, it's like your what do you call it? Your microbiome is like an algorithm. It'll
Hmm.
start bringing that, wanting that, like, I went through periods of time where I'll be raw for 6 months, and then maybe the holiday comes and I'll have some vegan products, like, to make a let's say a vegan Thanksgiving or vegan Christmas or whatever. And like those, it's hard to go back because then
Hmm.
your body's like, no, now I want the denser foods. I want some bread. Okay. It's
Yeah.
like these little men in our microbiome are like, we want this. And there's a lot of things involved with nutrients and things, and some people are like, "Well, when I do, a lot of fruit, I crave salt," and it's like, you really might be, because when I started getting deep into nutrition, we always think we're downplaying ourselves, like, "Oh, it's just our hormones or something, we want a bunch of, like, salty foods," but for real, we have something in our body like the sodium potassium pump, so if we have too much potassium, which is in all these fruits and vegetables, you might really need sodium, and you might have to,
Mhm.
like, get something in you that would be like higher sodium type, vegetable, like maybe celery or juice or something, like I think we can't ignore what our body thinks, and also think it's a craving sometimes because it can make us hard on ourselves. And
Yeah.
there's like, the B12 and the especially getting to be in almost 50, I'm feeling like, there's a lot of things I'm reading about, like selenium and things that I need to make sure that I'm getting in my diet to make me, feel, even our mindset has a lot to do with the foods we're putting in. So, while a lot of people think, oh, it's detox, it could be something that you're missing in your diet. So I think
Mhm.
it's good to have that guide, or at least do a lot of research. We've got our little friend Chatty GPT, right?
Yeah.
We can ask it anything.
That's true. I want to go back quickly to when you were talking about how you were feeling and noticing how you maybe were a little bit stuffier or you felt better eating a certain way. And I really hope that people hear that because I think, especially as we get older, people start to think, well, this is just how I feel now. I'm getting older. Of course, my joints are going to hurt. Of course, it's a little harder to get out of bed, or maybe I'm, stuffy or brain fog. Like it's just because I'm getting older and you have to deal with it. And so much of that is caused by what we eat, our environment, whether, how active we are or not. And so even if you are older, whatever that means to you and where you're at in your life, it doesn't mean that you have to feel that way. And if you're tuning
Yes.
into that, I think that's your body saying like, "Hey, try something different."
Yes, it
Yeah.
definitely is. I agree with you, because we can get stuck in that mindset. But, from you and me, we both probably interviewed people in their 70s who
Yep.
thought they had to live with certain things. I always remember, like, I interviewed a lady, Miss Mary, and she was 75, I think. I might be wrong a little bit on the age, but in her 70s, had 15 years of arthritis.
Mhm.
And when she went, and began eating a predominantly raw vegan diet, and or healthy, I'll say, because there's different levels of what people say healthy is, but she
Mhm.
did like a fruit type diet for, I think it was 40 days, which couldn't have been easy, right? But
Yeah.
she reversed her arthritis. And
Wow.
and you don't have to go to those extremes, like, also, I just tell people, wherever you are, start to change a little bit at a time, because if we think about, even myself, different periods of time where I've gone, down different roads of the diet, and I'm like, okay, I want to start eating healthy, but you have to make it fun, and
Mhm.
you have to lean into something else. You can't just, you don't want to be deprived and depressed about eating every day. So, like,
Right.
you have to get excited about what your new diet's going to be before you can walk away from the old one. It's kind of like, I guess it would be like a relationship, right? That's why rebound relationships work out well. We need a rebound food relationship, right? Like, we can't go from oh, well, I just eat whatever I want. And then the next day you're like, okay, I'm only going to eat one grapefruit because then you're not going to
Right.
be full and you're going to feel, you have to start exploring it and also getting your mindset right, for it too. Because
Mhm.
I think what really helped me was just from the standard American diet, this was so different. And I started learning so much and learning about the health benefits of those vegetables. I wanted those going in my body. Like when I was like, oh, wait, okay, this is, did you know? I mean, I'm sure I annoyed the heck out of Dawn to the point where now she's vegan, but I was like, did you know that a cucumber hydrates you? Like, did you know you need this much water intake? Did you know we're all dehydrated? And she was probably like, give up. No, but actually, it's funny to say that, but like I'll put out things that are positive about the vegan diet online, and eventually, like I do fall into the trap because sometimes I just get frustrated, and I'm like, and this is what happens to cows, like this is
Right.
what you're doing every now and then. But I try to keep it as positive as possible. And I think that's where a lot of times we go wrong when we think diet and disciplined eating. It's all about negative connotations in our mind. But if we can get excited about these foods that we're eating, about whether wherever you are, like if you're into whole food plant based and understanding, oh, look, that's like you said, this is better. I'm going to go with beans instead of, maybe a big pot of lentil stew instead of my normal, beef stew that I eat. And it's actually pretty good. And I'm using the same tastes and textures. Or if
Mhm.
you're like, once I started eating fruit for lunch, it was one of the things that really changed my day because the first day, yeah, it's going to be hard because maybe you're used to having a sandwich or something, but eating maybe that or smoothie, you realize that your day, like you're just feeling like you can do more stuff, like you're
Mm.
not getting tired around 2 o'clock at work. You
Yeah.
still have that energy, or after work you're still ready to do things, and you're ready for it. It's like, I think that's for me what it was about. It was about getting excited about the new way I was eating, so it wasn't as hard to walk away from the old way. And I mean, those cravings were still there. I'm not going to say I was perfect. Like every now and then I would be like smelling something along the way. Like I live in a resort town, so I was smelling like that whole cotton candy boardwalk French
Mhm.
fries smell, obviously then the potato craving would pop up, but it was almost like, no, I don't eat that anymore. So, I could walk the other way from it,
Mhm.
at least for that first 6 months
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
the healing.
that's amazing that when you find something that works for you
Hmm.
and that's all that matters. So you're not worried about other people judging you, being upset that you're eating a certain way or not eating a certain way. I think it opens us up to really explore what is meaningful to us and to make choices and set boundaries with other people. Um, and it empowers us in a way to take care of ourselves. And by doing that, we're also taking care by not engaging in those industries, not being part of, our money is not going towards the slaughter of animals. And so we can kind of feel empowered that way, but then also in making our own choices, which then also leads me to something else that we talked about when we chatted last week is this idea of like, how do we not get angry or how do we deal with the anger that does come up when we're around family members who are still eating the way we used to eat? Or maybe even passing judgment on the choices that we are now making.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the harder things to navigate. And I think we get into a rhythm with it. We get used to it because our family is our family. We love them. We love our friends, and we love our circle of people that we have known for our whole life almost. But I think that's one of the hard things because I find that I always have to remember I wasn't always where I am. And it's almost like the longer you're vegan, the more the more things pile on there about the, animal industry and you start to see all these things in the world, like how we exploit animals, even phrases we use, like I'm going to kill two birds with one stone, or you're watching a TV show and you don't even realize that they're using animals as part of the thing, like I don't know, I was thinking about maybe those Fear Factor type shows. That's a long time ago, but anything like that, or you even look at how animals are just talked about as food. Like, one thing I've had to do is try to stay out of the comments on Facebook because
Yeah.
it's so disappointing to see. You'll see this beautiful post about thinking of a cow as an individual, and then the person literally, steak, right? Like they're
Right.
just trying to get a reaction, right? And it's like, but that's where they are. We have
Mhm.
to remember that we can only spill over like a coffee bean of our experience, I feel like, because eventually, like I always think about a coffee bean, because when you put it in the boiling water it changes the water
Mhm.
instead of letting it like disintegrate the actual item in the water. And it's like that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to share our stories, but we're trying to do it in a positive way. And the way we react to people who are being negative, they may not understand or have made that connection, but if we're sparking it and we're starting to put it out there, they might take, years. It might never happen for them. And
Mhm.
I hope that it does, but like you have to almost come to the terms in your mind, like I can only do what I can do so that I'm not, just. And that's why I do the show, and that's why I do these, and that's why I wrote the book, because I want people to see the evolution of what happened to me, how I grew up in normal standard American world like everybody else, with all the
Mhm.
same thing. We were told milk does a body good. Ice cream was a treat. And, we need protein, we need meat on every plate. It was what was our plates were all built around it growing up. So to change that for somebody would mean changing what they're going to do this Saturday at the barbecue. It would mean changing what they do at the holiday. It's something where that standard within you has to change. And I think when we talk about both, going vegan and then the health part, it's like people's standards change. This is what I'll put in my body. And then the why behind it has to be just as strong. Where my why
Mhm.
is I'll never eat an animal, where I'm a little more flexible with whether I'll eat a vegan burger,
Right.
like.
Same.
But it's like at some points in my diet, I've been at that standard where no, I won't touch that, like because I know where it's going to take me
Mhm.
down. But it still isn't as deep as the animal reasoning behind it. And I think when people reach that, whether they come in through diet or reach that, or they're like, it didn't happen to me right away. I'm thinking about when we're talking about other people. I heard the word vegan. I remember the one time this picture popped up in my memories where there was the Chick-fil-A, what was it, a cow or something, and he had a sign that said eat more chicken on my
Mhm.
Facebook memories. But I remember taking a picture of him in the parking lot of Chick-fil-A and never connecting though the cow was telling us to eat more chickens. Like, and I never said, "Oh, that's terrible." Like,
Right.
it's like that. Yeah, I was probably like 25 or however old, or 30 or whatever, but that didn't connect it for me. And then hearing people ordering the vegan food, I never stopped and thought and be like, I wonder why they're not torturing animals in their diet. Like it was just a word. But
Yeah.
then once I connected this food thing with it, that's how I had to come into it. So I'm like, if we can be patient and just keep telling our stories and keep putting it out in a positive way and not attacking people, I really feel like that's the way we can, make a difference in the world. And just, I would say, if you're angry, keep doing what you're doing, because, keep putting it out there however you feel comfortable. You might not feel comfortable doing a show on YouTube or a podcast, but share this one. That could be
Yeah.
your way of doing it. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, maybe, like we were talking about in your own community, you could do something, but it makes me feel comfortable to share it. Some people just want to do it and not share it. And like whatever your talent is, whatever way that it feels comfortable, whatever way you can deal with it is great. But I do appreciate things like this because I feel like we're putting it out into the world where someone might see this that, like, I don't want to say by mistake, but maybe by mistake. Maybe someone that knows me hint, hint, anybody I'm sharing this with, that's not vegan might see something that sparks their interest, like, hears something, makes that connection or starts to. And I think that's all we can hope for is that. And we have to feel like a rebel because we can't feel like, we have to walk away from the crowd sometimes when it's not right. And so you have to be proud of that and not feel like, oh, I should be going along with everybody else. Maybe you shouldn't. And that's what's sometimes hard about it. But you get used to it. Like you learn to live within your little world and then your family gets used to it. They're like,
Mhm.
that's the family vegan, and then sometimes you have people that start exploring it, but I think your first couple of years vegan, you're just spent trying to convince everybody around you to be
Yep.
vegan. And, I think, like, the way that that happened, like, I remember Dawn went raw with me, but then she would like I said, we didn't know it was anything a deeper meaning, and she went back to, like, eating the other way, and I stayed raw and raw and raw, and, like, about when I started exploring the thing about the animals, I showed her that speech by Gary Yourofsky,
Mhm.
and in the middle of it, she started crying, and I felt so bad because I don't like to make people feel bad either. Like, I'm
Yeah.
compassionate with people and animals. I'm like, I'm sorry, you don't have to keep watching it." And she, like, never ate meat again after that. And that's what did it for her. She had to hear
Mhm.
about it all that time. The health changes didn't matter. She's like, "Yeah, I gotta do that
Mhm.
one day. Yeah, you look great and all this. I need to do it too. And, yeah, see your energy, blah, blah, blah." But when she found out about the cow, in the middle of that, it changed her in some way
Yeah.
where that was just like, "Oh, no, I care
Mhm.
too much about animals." And I think, this thing that people go around with, "You can't love animals and eat meat," like, I don't think they've made that connection. So I
Right.
think I knew I loved animals before or thought I in a deeper
Mhm.
way, but it was just certain animals,
Yeah.
like I hadn't
Exactly.
expanded it to all animals. And, like, it makes you think about every little thing, every little life now. The longer you're, vegan, it's like
Yeah.
everything becomes a little being instead of,
Mhm.
like, we talk about eating animals, but if we think about that one animal when it has a name, it's like people don't wanna eat that animal if they know it from a farm,
Right.
but it's like when it's just a very interesting, like, I have a background in psychology, and that's one of the things I just, ponder all the time, like, how do we get people to make that connection?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you said about how it grows, and the longer we're vegan, the more we see the I guess the life really within each other being, right? When I was a kid, I was terrified of spiders, as so many of us are.
Mhm.
Terrified. And the idea that a spider would ever be on me would send me like, "Oh my goodness." And now, like, I see them and I, like, appreciate who they are. So,
Mhm.
we have these little I know a lot of people like to use just a jar and, like, a piece of mail to, like, capture a bug and take them outside. We have, like, these little things we found on Amazon. It's like a little clear square, like, plastic, and it has a handle, a nice long handle, and on the handle is a little thing to slide a little piece of plastic underneath. So
Aw.
you take this little handle, and let's say there's a spider or any bug on your wall, on your floor, you put the little plastic piece over the bug, and there's a magnifying glass on top too. So you can even, as you walk them outside, you can get to know them and look at their face and look at their little legs and just
Yeah.
appreciate who they are, even if you don't want them in the house. And like we live with cats, and I don't want the cats ending their life by
You know how
eating
many
a bug.
flies I've saved from a
Yeah.
cat?
And you never know if like if a spider or two or a bug has been eaten something outside that has been treated with some pesticide. You don't want your cats to eat that, right?
Right.
So it's like a whole mix of reasons why, but yeah, like we'll take these little plastic handle things, and we take the bugs back outside, and just in that moment from wherever we capture them in the house out to the door, I do like to take a minute and just really take in who this bug is before I release them back outside. And I would never have done that. A spider would have
No.
sent me running in the other direction, and now I'm,
Yes.
like, happy for that moment.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I shared this thing I made on I think it was on Instagram where it was a bug flying towards the drink. And I said before vegan, I would have thought, oh no, the drink. And now after vegan, it's like, oh no, the bug. I
Yep.
almost we can't let it get in there and drown. So it's like it's just that shift in focus. And that didn't even happen right away. Like I think like we talk about layers. I don't even think the moment I found out about cows and chickens, I realized about fish, and then someone mentioned about what it must feel like. And that's the one that's so hard because that's so common. Like people are holding up pictures of, look at my catch.
Yeah.
And all I can think is, that poor thing, but we got to realize people have jobs and they work in industries where this is what they've built their life around. So we have to find something else for them to walk towards in order to get them to that point. But the first part is making that connection. And then the bugs, I think, came later on too, where all of a sudden, like you said, that realization is what's different between that life, and this life, other than what I was told. I was
Mhm.
told you smash these, you eat these, and you love these. And all of a
Yep.
sudden that did not make sense anymore. It's like,
Yes.
why? And then when I found that it wasn't good for me and it actually changed my life and changed all these things in I'm like, okay, so we're not even, they're not necessary. I think that's what gets caught up in a lot of people's mind too.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's a it's definitely seeing the world in a different way, and I'm sorry it took so long for me to see it, and it was all there right in front of me, but I wasn't looking in the right places. I think until 42.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think every vegan I've ever met feels that. Like, oh, I wish I just had known or seen it or been able to make that connection, when I was 5 instead of when I was 20 or 42 or 15 or yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it is, I always say that it is the most beautiful decision I have ever made.
hmm
Yeah.
And it's not like the easiest decision we've ever made, but it's the
Right.
right one. It's almost like like it changed everything in our life. It even probably distanced some people from us
Mhm.
um by mistake, but it's like it is the right, like in my mind that's what aligns with me as what I wouldn't be able to not do it.
Yeah.
Like I can't unsee what I've seen. I wouldn't feel aligned with myself doing it life any other way, or even to the point where it's became my purpose now to put this information out there. And
Yeah.
like so it becomes like your deeper meaning all of a sudden, no matter what I feel like your profession is. And I still work, but even there I slide in vegan things, so it's like it still is like walking that balance of like this is what I need to kind of put out to the world, and also having that being grounded enough to know that not everybody's going to do it. And I still keep that hope that
Yeah.
they will, but you gotta be realistic and not try to push people too hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all we can do is make those show how we made the connection in whatever way it was, and then hope that someone else makes that connection eventually.
Mhm. Yes. And something you said a little bit earlier, me talking about the different ways that we kind of approach things and that some people like us want to get the message out in the world and we're willing to be in front of people and kind of take on that role. And then there are other people that are like, I'm just going to do it here quietly in my own house and I'm not saying a word about it.
hmm
And they might feel like they're just doing it for them. They know it's the right choice for them, and that's good enough. But I always like to remind people who feel that way that every single time we show up as a vegan, so unless you live fully by yourself, never interacting with another person, anytime you show up as a vegan, you're able to show people, even if you're not doing it for that reason, you're showing people what it is to live a vegan life. And just by being like making your food or if you're out shopping with a friend and you're buying a sweater that's not made of wool,
hmm
that is still, I think, a form of activism and a way of planting seeds even when you're just living your life and you don't create a platform or feel like you need to be kind of showing people the way. You're
Yeah,
just doing your thing. And in that, I think you're making a powerful statement too.
I agree completely because now that I think about it and you saying that, the lady who would call our service for food ordering vegan planted a seed in me where I knew what vegan was and I knew that she got good food. She would just get the vegetable spring roll, So I'm like, okay, she still ordered out and she was vegan.
Mhm.
But, even though it wasn't like something that made me change right then, that was a seed planted. And like, seeds that are planted, they are doing stuff under the ground for, almost a year for some fruits or vegetables, and then they pop up. And
Mhm.
so, like, all that stuff that you're doing, like you said, even going to the grocery store and buying your groceries, I've been into these like you might be a vegan memes lately. So this one was if your grocery cart looks like you robbed a fruit stand, you might be vegan. And I'm thinking, you know what? Going to the store, people are like, what's all this? Like,
Mhm.
that's even planting a seed with the lady because she was like, does that work for you? While she's ringing stuff up, and then we hear the story about the cousin once tried it. And, like it's, it's so cool because I'm like, I'm always happy to talk about it,
Mhm.
and I just had a guy stop me one time in the store. I'm wearing this shirt because some people don't want to say vegan, and I understand because sometimes that can make people push you the other way, like, oh, one of those people, they're gonna judge me, right? And it's like, no, I'm not judging you, I was you. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to shift you over here. But I'm like wearing the vegan shirt and he stops me and he's like, that vegan shirt, my niece is vegan or something, and I was like, oh, that's awesome, and had a conversation. Like, people are interested in it. So, like, if they hear your take on it, that might have sparked something, for him. Maybe my reason for going vegan was different than his niece's reason, and that's going to start making a connection for him. And,
Yeah.
it just can pile up from there. So, like you said, just you doing you and being you is making a difference because
Mhm.
even your money where it's spent, you're not buying meat and dairy, and all
Right.
these things online about that price of eggs are so high, the price of eggs are so high. Stop buying eggs.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even worry. Either they'd move the price down for you guys, or it's like, or they'd get them off the market, and get you some tofu eggs. But and we're like, what was those? Just egg or something, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you
There are options and
there
they're
are
good
other
ones.
they definitely are. That's one of the things I've realized. None of the tastes that when I want those comfort tastes, you can have it. You can make it with raw foods, you can make it with it's mostly about the seasoning on things if we're
Yeah.
talking just about diet. And I also think you mentioned something about buying a shirt that wasn't made of wool or animal product. And some people are like, well, if I can't do everything or bugs die when you eat vegetables or like I don't know if my clothes are I'm probably not the perfect vegan yet environmentally because I'm still working through how to make sure all my products weren't tested. And, these things, if you can't do everything perfectly, don't just not do nothing or
Right.
anything though, like
Mhm.
just making a choice with what you're eating for starters is going to make a big difference. And then you can learn, just like I had to learn from a diet to the actual meaning of veganism. I didn't know how many ways like the makeup maybe that we use or the things that were done to animals in the testing of things like that's
Mhm.
something I still haven't gotten deeper into because someone's like, I can only handle one thing at a time. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I want to do everything that's not exploiting animal, but sometimes that can overwhelm you. So just wherever you are, do what you can in that moment. Like if right now you just want to explore a diet and don't let someone completely overwhelm you with too much at once either, because it's a big change. So,
Yeah.
the little things you do are making a difference, every single one of them.
Yeah. And I think too that in that situation, we think about there's always this phrase, go vegan. What if we're going vegan? What if we
Hmm.
make it an action? So you've changed the way that you eat. Now you're eating a vegan diet, but maybe you don't know about animal testing yet, and so you're still buying products that maybe have been tested on animals or maybe contain animal products. So that's a learning for a new person going vegan. And so maybe if somebody asks you, "Oh, are you vegan?" You could instead say, "Yes, I'm vegan." And then they look around and they go, "But wait, you're buying stuff that's tested on animals. I thought that vegans don't do that." But if you say, "I'm going vegan, I'm in a
Mhm.
process, I'm learning, and I'm making these changes as I learn stuff," now we're not changing the meaning of the word vegan. And so that still stands where people understand what it means. But we're also opening it up to people who think, "Oh my God, that's so big. I could never do that." But
Mhm.
when we're going and we're making changes and it's an action that we're following, like, maybe that could open it up to more people.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think you know, in my mind, that going vegan and like being vegan, it also, I think, in the definition, I don't know the exact definition right in front of me, but it says as much as possible or as practically possible or something like that. So if you
Mhm.
don't, if you may have already for years had a leather couch, or let's just say, and
Mhm.
you don't have the money right now to go out and throw away your couch, and
Yep.
then your cats are looking at you like, where do we sit? Like, we don't want to do that because you've
Right.
already had that. Unfortunately, that animal's already, if when you can, if you don't feel comfortable, eventually you might not want to keep looking at it. So you will
Right.
do it. But like, that's not something to say, like, if you go vegan right now, you have to throw away all your stuff, like you
Yeah.
may do this and I didn't even know that part of veganism. Like I said, when I started, I thought it was just you eat this food. I didn't even know there was anything else to being vegan. I didn't know there was, I mean, like, 'cause logically, I guess I knew there was animal testing, but I didn't realize the extent of it and on how many things that was happening. And then
Mhm.
also, like, just in little things, like I remember discovering once when I went away from raw for a minute and started adding in some products. It was like Kellogg's cornflakes or something. There was some form of the vitamin D they were using that came from a sheep something or another,
Yep.
and Jello was it was just, oh, when I started learning all of that, I'm like, oh my goodness, like
Mhm.
it's and like just how they sneak things in. Like there was barbecue chips one time that had dairy product in it
Mhm.
somehow along the line, and
Right.
I'm like, they're just like randomly picking ways to put animals in stuff.
Yes.
Like, and it's like, why do we use and exploit animals, and how did it get to this point where we just started making everything out of an animal? And why, when there's other ways to do it? Like, that's where I think it started getting for me. But in the beginning, the first step is what we eat, because that's the most thing that we do every single day.
Yeah.
I think it's the hardest decision you make, but also the easiest to like start to change, because there's plenty of ways to eat. And like, if you're somebody like me who loves simplicity, I actually like eating the same thing every day because it gives me, at least for long periods of time, it gives me a sense of I don't have to think about it too much,
Yeah.
like that's where I think why that fruit and salad makes so much sense for a lot of times with me, or um, just like maybe like people are talking about batch cooking. Maybe they make like a big pot of stew. Like I've always been that. Even on my regular diet, I could eat spaghetti for like a week, and then that last bite of it, you're like, I can't.
Right.
But I've always been able, even eating out Chinese, Asian foods, I always get the same thing,
Mhm.
so it's like you find a rhythm of what you like, those same couple of meals. I think when we
Yeah.
think about going vegan, we think I got to make like 300 different recipes and take a bunch
Right.
of classes. And there are certainly people, if you're already a cook and like exploring, tastes and things like that, then maybe you will make a bunch of different things. But for most of us, it's pretty simple to at least start with the food.
Mhm. Yes, agreed.
Mhm.
JJ, tell me about your book.
So the book was something I wanted to start back in 2020, and it just got a little bit overwhelming. Like I started writing it down, and then every time I would write about a new part of it, I would start. thinking, well, now I've learned this, and now I've learned this, and now this. I'm like, I don't even know where to start now. I'm already too deep in. So I decided, I think it was, I got really serious about it like at the end of last year. And I just decided, you know what? Just start with your journey. And I started trying to help people to improve their diet. And I realized I went back and looked at what worked for me and like what was this blueprint that I used that I was able to change from the standard American diet to a vegan diet. And and I kind of take it through the evolution of that, like how I tell my story in the book, but it's also like a four-step blueprint psychologically to help you move into a different way of living, whether it be going to a raw vegan or high raw, like some cooked and more healthier raw fruits and vegetables, or you're just trying to change to vegan, or you're trying to write a book. I even talk about how I use the same kind of blueprint. So it basically takes it through each letter of GLAD, which is G, which is goals, because our goals kind of change throughout. Like you said, yours started with wanting to help animals, and then mine started with I want to lose weight. And then the goal became, oh, I don't want to feel allergies anymore. So now I'm going to keep eating this way. I don't want my back pain. So that was the new goal, to not ever have those things come back, you know. And then the goal became, oh my goodness, now I need to save the whole world. And so, like, the world has gone mad, from mad to sad to glad. No, but then like it was like, okay, so goals is a section where I think people think of this big broad goal where it's like, I want to go vegan, like you said, but we have to break it down into sub goals I talk about. So we have to say one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try a plant-based meal this week, or I'm going to have fruit for lunch, and just start with a small goal that can you can put an action on. And then like L is learning. And I talk about learning, like how important that is to absorb yourself and learning, letting go of limiting beliefs and the different levels of learning, because we start with like tactics of I need some vegan recipes, but we have to just get very sometimes we get comfortable with wanting to build a bunch of information but never taking action on it, you know,
Yeah.
like that same person that comes every week, well, give me a vegan recipe. And then you're like, did you try it yet? No, you know, I just like collecting all these the different tactics, but you never put a strategy together to actually figure out how it's going to work in your life. So it's just kind of takes you through that. And when you finally get to like the principles of it, that's where we've all had that deeper change, whether it be I won't put processed food in my body anymore, or I won't put animals in my body anymore. When it becomes a principle
Mhm.
is when you really have lasting change and you start to not care about what other people think, because it's like, I don't mind being around you. I like you, but I don't have to eat what you eat or participate in what you participate in. And that I think is touched on in the discipline chapter, which is D, a little bit more, sharing with you how I navigated it and how you can navigate being different in a world, but still enjoying it. And I think
Mhm.
that's where a lot of the book, the subtitle with joy and ease, because it's like, how do you love your new life instead of like feeling like you're in this box now where you know, it's like, look at all these new things you get to explore, look at all these things you're learning, all these new people you met, getting in line online communities, and you know, starting to find new friendships even that are, you all have that common core meaning, you know, deeper meaning. It's like it's so different when you love this new lifestyle rather than looking at it like, you know, I mean, I see these guys online who are on these like they're sharing and girls on their like fruit, you know, when they chop it up real fast, or these
Mhm.
videos, and it's like it just makes it look so fresh and refreshing, you know, like everybody's laughing and smiling when you see like people being interviewed on vegan videos. It's like people are loving this lifestyle. So
Mhm.
learn how to walk into that joy of being different instead of, you know, instead of like thinking that this is going to be a negative change, like I think it can be. And
Yeah.
it focuses a lot on how to be disciplined in a world, whether it's your diet or even, you know, how I changed with these principles about knowing what animal products do and what they do in the world, and having that when your principles change and you allow yourself to get to that point, you can make better decisions without having to stress about it too much.
Yeah. That's awesome. So where can people find your book?
Right now it's on Amazon, and gladblueprint.com is the website that you can go to, but it'll just take you, like when you click it there, you can click on the Amazon link right from there. And it is available in ebook and also on paperback book, which is kind of cool when I see people holding the book. I like
Yeah.
when people send their pets in with the picture of it, and I always post it on Facebook. Um, but yeah, so you can get it that way. And I actually, I think it was about a week or 2 weeks ago, I actually made the audio book, and I have it shared on YouTube right now. And I know people are like, why are you putting your book on there for free? And I'm like, well, I just felt called. I was like, it's not really doing a lot of people any good sitting on their shelf. And the main thing was to get the book out and help people.
Yeah.
Obviously, it helps me when you buy it, but it is on my YouTube page in audiobook. And I said I would,
Nice.
just because I realize people have vision impairment, and also people are very busy. Even people that bought the book, they're like, I have it, but I haven't read it yet. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to put it out in audio form so like
Yeah.
people can actually hear it, because I spent a lot of time working on it. And
Mhm.
but I appreciate anybody if they want to, pick up a copy of it, or if you want to listen to it, for free, and then you love it so much you want to buy like every member of your family that book's.
Yes.
That's but no, I appreciate you letting me come on and talk about it. It definitely was a exciting accomplishment that I was able to finally do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And of course, I'm glad to have you share it. And I love this that you've got the audiobook out there on YouTube. I have found that I enjoy listening to books, and then I love having the physical book as a reference. So, a novel, if I listen to a novel, I don't ever feel like I need the physical book to go back and like reread a story. But when it comes to these books, that whether it's about a lifestyle change or something we're trying to do, to have the ability to listen to it, like you said, you're busy, you have time in the car, you can put it on, so you're still learning the concepts, but it's really hard to remember, when did JJ say that thing about raw food? Was it like chapter 2, or how do I go back and find exactly what she said? It's a lot easier when you have the print copy. So now you've heard the brilliance. Now you're going to go back and read it and reference it. And it's a lot easier, I think, to put it into practice. So even if it's out there for free to listen to, it's still valuable for sure to have that physical copy as well.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
sure. So JJ, I've got one more question for you.
Okay.
How does
Let
hummus
me
show up in
guess
your
what
life?
this is.
Right?
So I promised I wasn't going to do my corny joke, but I can't help it. I'm going to hummus a tune. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So it's funny because after we talked, I went to Dawn and I was like, "Oh my gosh, remember the hummus?" Like, we went through a phase before we were even vegan that she found, I forget who it was, somebody that she knew told her that hummus was really good, or they were eating something with hummus on it, and she was like, "I've never tried it." And they're like, "You got to try it." So she like got addicted to this red pepper hummus. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
every time I went to the store, she was like, I would call me like, "They don't have the red pepper." And because when we were running the business, I would go into the store a lot, and she would stay like to take calls and things. And it was like I didn't even want to make the call if they didn't have the red pepper where we went. And like, so I would try a different store. And I think she tried like a couple other kinds, but that was her favorite. And then once I started like watching you, and now that we've talked, last week and everything about it, now it's like become back on our menu here, as we're gonna have hummus with now included in our nice high raw vegan diet. So it
Nice.
makes more sense. Like, yeah, it was good for us, but we were probably, still eating our animal products at the time with the first hummus round. So I'm excited now for this one. And hopefully they have the red pepper hummus.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But we're gonna go to the store on Tuesday is like our kind of re-up on everything day. So we're gonna definitely order sometimes. I must admit. We work from home, so we do a lot of Instacart. I'll have to
Mhm.
just make sure the shopper knows.
Right.
Please call if there's no red pepper hummus.
Yes.
But I love the name of that because it seems like the thing now. I'm thinking, wow, I could bring hummus to different events because it's vegan, but like people are used to it. Like even I had it
Hmm.
before I was vegan, so I love it. I love the name of your podcast. I
Thank
love the
you.
message you bring, to the world, and the way that you explore it with people. It's so cool.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
And I'm sure you guys will be seeing a bunch of, if you follow me on any of my social media, you'll be seeing a bunch of hummus pictures,
Yes.
and I'll be tagging you in
Excellent. Please do.
it.
JJ, this
And a few
conversation.
hummus puns. Okay, I can't
Yeah.
help it.
I look forward to that. JJ, this conversation has been wonderful. I want to be mindful of our time, but thank you so, so much for joining me this morning. I can't wait for my listeners to hear this. I know that they're going to learn and be inspired by you.
Well, thank you. I'm so excited for it too. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate you.
Welcome back. I had such a great time chatting with JJ. To connect with JJ, follow her on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Vegan Knowledge JJ. You'll find the links to these in the show notes, as well as 2 links to her Facebook groups. I hope you found this episode helpful and inspiring. Please subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're loving it, please give Did You Bring the Hummus a 5-star rating and leave a review. It's an easy way to keep supporting the show. Be sure to share these episodes with your friends. If you're finding something good here, they will too. If you're a vegan or know a vegan who would be a great fit for the podcast, follow the Be a Guest link in the show notes. Fill out the quiz and I'll be in touch. Get on my mailing list and stay up to date on all things Did You Bring the Hummus. Get more info on how you can sign up for a meditation, one of my programs, or to support the podcast via the links in the show notes. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Did You Bring the Hummus, and visit my website, didyouBringTheHummus.com, for more information about me, updates on what I'm working on, new podcast episodes, and all things vegan. Finally, I would love to hear from you. What do you need help with? Is there a topic you want to hear covered on a future episode? DM me on Instagram or send me an email at info@didyouBringTheHummus.com. Thanks for listening.